If you close your eyes and listen to those first few bars of the Elwynn Forest music, that soaring, peaceful violin, you aren't just hearing a soundtrack, you're hearing the collective memory of millions of players. For many of us, Elwynn was the literal beginning of our journey into fantasy. It's a place of golden sunlight filtering through ancient oaks, rolling hills, and the cozy smell of a hearth at the Lion's Pride Inn. But here's the thing about Elwynn, it's a lie. On the surface, it's the quintessential peaceful human kingdom. But if you look at the lore, the actual dirt under the fingernails history of this place, Elwynn Forest is a region struggling to survive in the wake of total collapse. It's a forest built on top of a graveyard, haunted by the failures of the crown and infested with the shadows of the past. Today, we're going to peel back that golden veneer and look at what's really happening under the canopy of Elwynn. Every journey starts at Northshire Abbey. It looks like a pristine sanctuary today, but the lore tells a much darker story. During the First War, when the Orcish horde first poured through the dark portal, they didn't just bypass the abbey, they razed it. The original abbey was the seat of the Order of the Holy Light. This wasn't just a place for Sunday prayer, it was where the very concept of the paladin was born. After the abbey was destroyed and the monks were slaughtered because they couldn't defend themselves, Alonsus Faol realized that faith wasn't enough to stop an axe. This realization led to the creation of the Knights of the Silver Hand. When you stand in that courtyard today, you're standing on a site of a massacre that changed the religious and military structure of the entire alliance. The rebuilt abbey is a symbol of resilience, sure, but it's also a monument to the day the priests realized they had to learn how to kill. As you walk from Northshire toward Goldshire, you'll run into bandits, a lot of them. We usually just target them and move on, but these aren't just random bad guys. These are the Defias Brotherhood, and their presence in Elwynn is a massive political scandal. After the Second War, the city of Stormwind was a pile of rubble. The Stonemasons Guild, led by Edwin VanCleef, spent years rebuilding the city into the masterpiece it is today. But when the bill came due, the corrupt nobles of Stormwind, manipulated by Lady Katrana Prestor, who we know was actually the Black Dragon Onyxia, refused to pay them. The workers who built the very walls that protect the king were cast out into the mud. They turned to crime, not because they were evil, but because they were hungry and betrayed. Every time you fight a Defias thug in the pumpkin patches of Elwynn, you're fighting a person whose father likely helped build the Cathedral of Light. Elwynn isn't just infested with bandits. It's undergoing a violent working-class revolution that the crown is too incompetent to handle. Then we have Goldshire. Mention Goldshire to any Warcraft player and you'll get a smirk. It's become a bit of a meme because of the interesting social activities on certain servers. But in the lore, Goldshire is the vital heart of the kingdom's trade. It's positioned at the junction between Stormwind, Westfall, and Duskwood. It should be the wealthiest town in the region, yet it's perpetually under-resourced. Why? Because the Stormwind army is spread too thin. The lore tells us that the real soldiers are off fighting in distant lands, leaving the defense of the forest to the Elwynn militia. This is why the town is always on the edge of disaster, whether it's the Riverpaw gnolls encroaching from the south or the kobolds taking over the mines. Goldshire is a town that is technically safe, but feels like it could be overrun the second the sun goes down. Speaking of being overrun, we have to talk about the King of Elwynn himself, Hogger. To a modern player, Hogger is a low-level elite. To a lore enthusiast, Hogger is the leader of the Riverpaw pack, and he represents a massive failure of the Stormwind guards. Hogger isn't just a big gnoll. He's a tactical genius in his own right, managing to maintain a stronghold in the forest's edge despite being just a stone's throw from the capital city of the humans. He has killed more players than almost any other mob in the game's history. He became such a legend that the developers eventually gave him a proper boss treatment in the stockades, but his true home will always be that small hill in South Elwynn, where he stands as a reminder that the wild is never truly tamed. Deep in the Fargo Deep and Jasper Lode mines, we find the kobolds. They are often treated as a joke, but their lore is surprisingly ancient and a bit tragic. Kobolds have a deep, almost religious obsession with their candles. Why? Because they believe that if their candles go out, something in the dark will get them. In the deep places of the earth, they hear the whispers of the old gods or the shifting of the earth's shadows. The candles aren't just for light, they are a ritual protection. When they scream, "You no take candle," it's not greed, it's pure existential terror. By clearing them out for a quest, we aren't just securing a mine, we're essentially evicting a terrified race of tunnel dwellers who are just trying to keep the monsters at bay. Now, let's get weird. If you've spent any time in Elwynn, you've heard about the 6 children in Goldshire. At 7 a.m. server time, they leave their house and walk in a perfect pentagram formation. They eventually end up in a house near the lake, standing in a circle, staring at the wall while creepy music plays. This is one of the most famous Easter eggs in the game, but the lore implications are haunting. It's widely believed they are a reference to the Sithun, or the influence of the old gods, right in the heart of the Alliance. The fact that the guards don't notice or don't care suggests that there is a spiritual rot in Elwynn that goes deeper than just bandits or gnolls. The forest is beautiful, but the ground remembers the old gods. One of the best things about Elwynn is the stuff that isn't on the map. If you follow the river north of Northshire, you find the Mirror Lake Orchard. It's one of the few places in the game that feels genuinely lived in. You have farmers just trying to grow apples, while a literal wizard's tower, the Tower of Azora, looms in the distance. The Tower of Azora itself is fascinating. It serves as a lookout for the kingdom, but the mages there are constantly worried about the leakage of magic from the ley lines. Elwynn sits on a crossroads of natural magical energy. Finally, we head east to the East Vale logging camp. This is the industrial arm of Elwynn. Every plank of wood used to rebuild Stormwind came from here, but if you look around, the camp is under constant siege by the Red Ridge Gnolls and the Black Rock Orcs filtering in from the mountains. The lore here is about the cost of expansion. The humans are cutting down the ancient trees of Elwynn to fuel their war machine, and the forest is pushing back. This is where the peaceful questing turns into a gritty survival story. You realize that the Alliance isn't just living here. They are fighting for every inch of soil against enemies that are literally at the doorstep. So, why does Elwynn Forest stick with us? It's because it represents the old world. It's the baseline. Without the peace of Elwynn, the chaos of the Plague Lands or the desolation of Silithus wouldn't mean anything. It's the home we're fighting for. When you look at the lore, you see a kingdom that is tired. It's a kingdom of orphans from the First War, betrayed workers from the Second War, and a militia that is barely holding it together. Elwynn is a beautiful mask worn by a kingdom that is deeply scarred.